All right. Hey, everyone, and welcome back to another deep dive.
Yeah, welcome back.
I'm so excited for this one.
Me too.
We just wrapped up a really interesting deep dive on questions
Uh-huh.
and answers
Yeah.
and how to kind of formulate those
Right.
in an effective way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this next deep dive is really going to build upon that
I think so.
because we're going to be talking all about descriptive language,
That's right. Descriptive language, yeah.
which I think is so important for,
It's really at the heart of communication.
It is.
I mean, if you think about it,
Yeah.
like being able to describe people, objects, and places in English,
Right.
that's really how we, bring our thoughts and ideas to life.
That's how we paint those pictures, but
Exactly.
words.
Yeah.
And so I think that, what we're going to be covering today is going to be super helpful
Would be very practical
for anyone who wants to be able to communicate more
in a more vivid way.
vividly
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
English.
Yeah.
So basically, we're going to be talking about, describing people's appearance
Mm-hmm.
and their personalities,
Right.
how to describe different objects,
Yeah.
talking about their size, their shape, their color, the material.
The material that they're made of, yeah.
And then also we'll talk about, describing places,
Yes, cities,
cities,
homes, nature,
homes at, yes.
nature, all of the above.
Uh-huh.
And then we'll also be talking about, some common errors that people make when they're
Wow.
describing things in English and some tips to really improve your descriptive ability.
Exactly. Some practical steps you can take.
Yeah, so let's jump right in
Let's do it.
and start talking about, how do we describe people?
Yeah, how do we describe people? So I think what's really interesting about describing people is that
Yeah.
there's this kind of like interplay between how they look on the outside
Right.
and then their internal character, like who they are as a person.
Yeah.
So let's start with the outside.
Appearance.
Appearance.
Now, a really, basic way to do this
Yeah.
is to use this structure, person is descriptive adjective,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think what's really amazing is that you can shape an image in someone's mind
With just a few words.
with just a few words. Yeah. Like
Hey.
think about,
I know. It's powerful.
it really is.
Yeah.
Like for instance,
Yeah.
if you're talking about someone's height,
Mm-hmm.
you could say he is tall,
Yeah.
but if you say he is towering,
Oh.
that gives you a much stronger image, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Right. Or if you're talking about someone's build,
Mm-hmm.
you could say she is thin,
Right.
but if you say she is slender,
Right.
it evokes a slightly different
Yes, a very different picture.
picture, doesn't it?
Yes.
So it's all
It's
about
choosing the right.
choosing those words that
Yeah.
really
Carry a bit more weight.
precision.
Precision, yeah.
And when we talk about things like hair,
Yeah.
we often use this structure. Person has descriptive adjectives, noun,
Uh-huh.
right? So instead of just saying
Yeah.
he has brown hair,
Yeah.
which is fine,
Which is fine, but
we can do better, right?
Yeah.
We could say he has thick, wavy brown hair.
right.
And you see how,
So much more descriptive.
yeah, those additional adjectives
Yeah.
really enrich the description.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting here is notice the order of those adjectives.
Yeah.
We tend to put the opinion or quality first,
Okay.
then size, and then color.
Oh, I see.
Right.
Interesting.
So it just sounds more natural
Right.
to say long black hair
Uh-huh.
rather than black long hair.
Right, right.
So there's a certain flow to it.
A natural flow?
Yeah, a natural flow.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have the eyes,
Oh, yes.
often called the windows to the soul.
Right.
So instead of just saying, she has blue eyes, you could say, she has striking azure eyes.
Oh, that's nice.
Right.
Yeah.
And, it's that one word.
It elevates the whole thing.
It elevates the whole description.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And let's not forget about clothing.
Okay.
Clothing is really important because it can tell us a lot about a person.
Yes, it can.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if you say, he is wearing a sharply tailored suit,
Oh, that tells you something, right?
that tells you something.
Yeah.
Right.
Like maybe he's a professional.
Maybe he's a professional. Maybe he's going to a special event.
Right. Or a wedding.
Or a wedding, exactly. Or if you say, she is dressed in a brightly colored, flowing dress,
Okay.
that might suggest a more
Relaxed personality.
relaxed or artistic personality.
Yeah.
So it's all about
Yeah.
observing those details
Yeah.
and finding the right words to convey them.
Yeah. So we're really starting to build like a picture of how to describe
Mhm.
someone's appearance,
Yeah.
and how to describe what they look like. But
we all know there's so much more to a person than just what they look like.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, there's the personality.
There's personality.
Yeah.
And I think that that's even,
Even more important sometimes.
more important to be able to articulate.
Right.
And so,
Yeah, and the same structure applies. Person is adjective,
yeah.
but the choice of that adjective
Right.
becomes much more critical.
Yeah.
Because, think about it. Like,
Yeah.
if you say someone is assertive,
Mm-hmm.
that could be positive or negative.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right.
It depends.
It depends.
Yeah.
Assertive could mean confident,
Right.
but it could also mean aggressive, depending on the context.
That's a great point.
Yeah. And similarly, quiet could mean thoughtful, or it could mean shy.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of nuance there.
So much nuance.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
It's
instead of just saying good.
Right. Yeah. Good is so bland.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
Yeah.
You could say someone is compassionate,
Right.
principled,
Benevolent.
benevolent. Each word paints a slightly different picture.
Yeah, those are all great.
Right. And then there are, those more engaging personality traits like witty,
Gregarious.
earnest,
Mm-hmm.
which really give you a sense of how someone interacts with the world.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think what's fascinating is that
Yeah.
these descriptors often tie in to behavior.
Oh, interesting.
Right. Like if someone is meticulous,
Yeah.
you might expect them to pay close attention to detail in their work.
Right.
If someone's optimistic,
Yeah.
you might anticipate a positive outlook, even in challenging situations.
Right.
So it's about connecting
Thinking.
the adjective to observable tendencies.
To these tendencies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's try to bring this to life a little bit.
Okay, I like that.
Imagine you're describing a colleague
Okay.
named Sarah
Mm-hmm.
to someone new.
Okay.
You might say,
Yeah.
Sarah has a warm smile and always wears colorful scarves.
Okay, I like that.
She's incredibly diligent
Uh-huh.
and has a wonderfully optimistic attitude,
Right.
which makes her a real pleasure to work with.
Wow. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So you see how,
So you got appearance.
and personality, both the physical and the personality descriptions, creates a much more complete,
Holistic picture
ballistic picture.
of Sarah.
Yeah, of Sarah. Yeah, and so I think, for you listening at home,
Mm-hmm.
think about someone that you really admire.
Yeah.
What are some of the specific
What stands out to you about them?
details about their appearance that stand out to you?
Yeah.
What are some of the defining
What words would you use to describe them?
characteristics of their personality? Try to,
I'm trying to use some more descriptive language.
articulate them. Yeah.
Using a more descriptive
Nuance that vocabulary a little bit.
vocab.
Yeah. All right, so let's shift gears a little bit
Let's shift gears.
and talk about describing objects.
Okay, objects.
Yeah.
So
That's we're surrounded by objects.
we are surrounded by objects.
Right.
Yeah, and when we describe objects, we often start with those fundamental attributes.
Right.
Size, shape, color, material.
Mm-hmm.
But even within these categories,
Right.
there's room for
So much more.
more evocative language.
The evocative language.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
So instead of just saying big,
Yeah.
you could say sprawling or bulky.
Okay. Right.
Much better.
Instead of just saying small,
Right. Yeah.
you could say delicate or compact.
Right. And all those different words
The choice of words
evoke a different
really
life.
influences
Yeah.
the image that you
Right.
create in someone's mind. Right. And what's interesting about shape is that we often relate it to familiar forms.
Oh, interesting.
Right.
So we're using
So instead of just saying
analogies.
you might say spherical, like a globe.
Oh, I like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Or circular, like a coin.
Wow.
So you're providing that clear visual reference.
Yeah, a reference point.
A reference point. Yeah. And then when it comes to color,
Oh, yeah.
don't be afraid to
Go beyond the basics.
go beyond the basics.
Right.
Instead of red, think scarlet, crimson, ruby.
Oh, I love that.
Each word carries its own
Yeah.
subtle shade
Very
and
good.
intensity.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And then, of course, we have material,
Material. Yeah.
which can tell us so much about
Yeah. What is it?
an object's texture.
Made of.
Yeah. Wait.
Yeah.
Even its history.
Right.
So if you say a table is made of polished oak, that conjures up a very different image
Yeah.
than saying it's made of rough-hewn pine.
Right. Totally different.
Totally different.
Yeah, so the polished versus rough-hewn.
Yeah, you're implying a certain
Texture.
Right.
Interesting. And what's fascinating here is that we often layer these descriptions.
Yeah.
So you might describe a small antique wooden box with intricate carvings. Right.
So you're adding
each adjective
more.
adds another layer of detail and creates a richer image in the person's mind.
More specific.
More specific, yeah. So let's play another quick word association game.
I love these games.
I know you do.
Let's do it.
All right, I'm going to say metallic.
Okay, metallic.
What comes to mind?
Oh,
when you hear that word?
Gleaming stainless steel appliances.
Okay.
Maybe a rugged aluminum suitcase.
Okay.
The cool, smooth surface of a chrome faucet.
Okay, yeah. Those are all great examples.
Well, I'm thinking like texture and sheen. Texture and sheen.
Yeah. When I hear the word metallic.
Right. And it's interesting how just that one word can evoke all of those different qualities and images, right?
Yeah.
So I would encourage you at home to take a moment, look around.
Pick an object.
Pick an object and try to describe it using at least 3 specific adjectives.
Okay, right.
Size, shape.
Related to its size,
color,
shape, color, material. And just notice how the combination of those details sharpens the image.
In your mind.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so we've talked about describing people. We've talked about describing objects. Now let's talk about
describing places.
Describing places, which is one of my favorites, I think.
Oh, yeah. This is where we can
really engage the senses and create a strong sense of atmosphere. So when you're describing a city, for instance, you might focus on its scale.
Okay.
Is it a sprawling city?
Okay.
Is it a compact city?
Got it.
What are the dominant architectural features? Does it have towering skyscrapers?
Right.
Historic cobblestone streets?
Or,
colorful,
low-slung buildings.
Low-slung buildings, yeah.
And what's the overall feeling?
Yeah.
Is it bustling and vibrant?
Right.
Or is it more quiet and laid back?
Right.
So those are all things to consider.
Totally.
When describing a city.
Yeah, and when you're describing a home, I feel like it's more about creating that sense of
intimacy and comfort.
Intimacy and comfort.
Yeah.
Right. So you might talk about, cozy armchairs bathed in the warm glow of a fireplace.
Oh, I love that.
Or a sun-drenched kitchen filled with the aroma of baking bread.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Right.
You're appealing to the emotions and senses.
Very sensory.
Yeah, very sensory.
Yeah.
And then nature.
Oh my gosh, nature.
Oh, nature.
The possibilities.
The possibilities are
endless with nature.
Yeah, you could focus on the visual.
Okay.
Like the emerald green canopy of the rainforest.
Yeah.
Or snow-capped peaks piercing the azure sky.
Oh, those are so good.
Or you could evoke the sounds, like the gentle lapping of waves against the shore.
Okay.
Or the rustling leaves and the whispering breeze.
Oh, yeah. Engaging multiple senses.
Engaging those multiple senses.
It's really the description.
And immersive.
Immersive, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
So
let's imagine you're trying to describe your favorite coffee shop.
Okay.
To a friend who's never been there. Okay. You might say, it's a small, cozy space with mismatched vintage furniture and the constant comforting aroma of freshly brewed coffee.
Okay.
Sunlight streams through the large front window, illuminating shelves filled with well-worn books, and there's always a low hum of conversation.
I love it.
And the clinking of ceramic mugs.
You've painted such a vivid picture
of
that coffee shop.
You can really feel the atmosphere.
Feel the atmosphere.
Right.
Yeah, and what's interesting about describing places is that it can be really subjective.
It can be.
Right. What one person perceives as charming, another person might see as rundown.
Right.
So using descriptive language, that reflects your own
personal experience.
Yeah. And perspective.
Can make your description
more engaging and authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
So think about a place that holds special meaning for you.
Okay.
What are the key details that make it memorable?
Yeah.
What sights, sounds, smells,
Feelings
do you associate with it?
Yeah.
Try to capture those in your description.
Okay. So we've talked about all the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's talk about
Some pitfalls.
some of the pitfalls.
Yeah.
Right?
Nah.
Some of the things to avoid.
Some common mistakes
Yeah.
that we hear.
When you're describing things in English.
When describing things in English.
Yeah.
So one very common one is using the verb to be.
Okay.
Is, are.
Right.
When we should be using to have, has, have.
To describe
physical attributes.
Physical attributes. So instead of saying she has long hair.
Right.
Which we hear a lot.
Yeah.
The correct form is she has long hair.
She has long hair.
Because has indicates possession.
Possession. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Of a feature. Mm-hmm. And another frequent area of error is adjective order.
Adjective order.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is a tricky one.
This is a tricky one.
Yeah.
And while there is a general tendency, like we mentioned.
Opinion before.
Facts. Size before color.
Before color.
But the specific rules can seem a bit arbitrary.
They can.
Right.
Yes, they can.
So just remember, generally it's opinion, then size, age, shape, color, origin,
oh my God,
material and purpose.
That's a lot to remember.
It is a lot to remember.
Yeah.
So it would be a beautiful, large, old, round wooden table.
Okay.
Not a wooden, round, old, large, beautiful table. Yeah. So you can see how the order really matters.
Yeah.
Yeah. And while native speakers often apply this intuitively.
Yeah, we don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's something that learners
just do it.
Really need to consciously practice.
It's ingrained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So pay attention to how adjectives are ordered in well-written English.
When you're reading.
Yeah. And try to emulate that.
Emulate it.
Yeah. And then finally, we sometimes see a mismatch between the adjective and the noun that it's describing, especially with size and shape.
Okay.
For places. Yeah. So saying the city is tall.
Right.
Doesn't quite work.
Right. It doesn't sound right.
Right. Yeah. Because tall usually refers to
the person.
A person or an object.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So instead you might say, the city has tall buildings, or the city is sprawling.
Or vast.
Or vast, exactly.
Right.
So it's about choosing adjectives.
That appropriately modify the noun.
Yeah. Right. And similarly, a landscape might be vast or rolling, but not typically square.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's about selecting vocabulary that accurately and naturally
reflects their characteristics.
The characteristics you want to convey.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this often comes down to building your vocabulary. And paying attention to. How different words are typically used.
So how words are used by native speakers.
Right.
So let's just quickly recap some of those errors.
Yeah, common errors.
To be aware of.
Remember to use has for physical features. Be mindful of that adjective order. Opinion before fact.
Okay.
Size before color. And choose those size and shape words that are appropriate for what you're describing.
For what you're describing.
Yeah. And I think if you keep those things in mind, it'll significantly improve
clarity, accuracy
of your descriptions. Yeah. And so this kind of prompts an interesting thought for you as you're listening. As you go about your day today, pay attention to the descriptive language that you encounter.
Descriptive language?
In books.
In
conversations. In the media. Note how native speakers are describing people, objects, and places.
What are those?
What vocabulary are they using?
Words.
Yeah, what's the order of their adjectives?
Yeah.
So this active observation can be a powerful tool for improving your
descriptive skills.
Your skills.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's just do a really quick summary.
Let's summarize.
Of what we've talked about today.
What we've explored in this deep dive.
Yeah. Okay. So we started by examining
how to describe people,
right?
Yeah.
We talked about appearance.
Focusing on both their physical appearance.
Yeah. Using those structures like person has adjectives, noun. Person is adjective.
And then we also talked about their personality.
And personality through the use of nuanced and evocative adjectives.
Evocative adjectives.
Yeah. And then we turned our attention to
objects.
Describing objects.
Yeah, we talked about
highlighting the importance of
specific vocabulary.
Specific vocabulary.
Yeah.
Size related to size.
Yeah.
Shape, color, material.
Material, right. And we did some fun word games.
We did some word games.
To illustrate how all those descriptive elements work together.
Yeah.
And then following that, we delved into
description of places.
Yeah.
Cities.
Homes, cities, homes, and natural landscapes.
And
I think that was so much fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Because we
got to use our imaginations.
Yeah, and we talked about how expert speaker.